In this episode, I talk about my startup company, Elkei Education, making electronics kits for young girls. Let's get into it. So the idea behind Elkei Education was born at a startup weekend competition, as you would expect. So on the Friday evening, if you're not quite sure how startup weekends work, you arrive on a Friday and you pitch the bare wisp of an idea. And so I pitched the concept of electronics for girls. And so we formed a team. There's a few keen people about my idea, and we started to get to work on the idea. And at the time, we called the group Spark Girls. And so we were the Spark Girls team, and we found lots of great info on how viable the idea was, which really made us think about, how you'd actually go about doing this in real life. And when we pitched the idea to the judges on the Sunday evening, the final competition, we ended up winning that weekend, which was, such a surprise, really. It was fantastic, which let us go to the international finals in Bali, where we got to pitch again against teams from Malaysia, Brunei, Philippines, Japan, and a whole range of other different places. And we ended up winning that one as well. And so we sort of sat back and thought, wow, maybe we could turn this into something real. Maybe the idea has legs. And so it was myself and my co-founder, Andrea, that got to work on the problem. So lucky for me, Andrea is a real expert in business and marketing and social media, which is where my strengths do not lie. So my expertise area is I teach 3D printing and Arduino, electronics, all that kind of stuff. But before this point, I hadn't actually designed a circuit board before, and I was sort of coming in very fresh into this, but I was very keen to challenge myself and to make it work. And so the first idea that we had for the business was to make like a type of house kit where you could assemble like the walls and the floors, and you could put in, say, conductive tape to actually like manage how electricity might work in a normal house, and sort of have like a place that would simulate putting in lights and appliances and all that kind of stuff. And while that was a cool idea to start with, we sort of ended up churning through many ideas like this with the realization that starting a hardware-specific business that sells goods tends to be very, prototype hungry. So you need to sit down and you need to make prototypes, you need to iterate and improve upon those ideas. And often with a hardware business, you need to be, spending money on fabrication of those ideas, on laser cutting out parts, all kinds of different things. One of the core concepts that I'll be talking about in the next video after this is lean startup methodologies, and that's where we really should have started. So we should have begun with a minimum viable product. So that would make sure that we could build something that was within our means and grow the business organically through our own funds without relying on external funding sources. From there, I sat down and I had an intensive few months learning circuit board design from scratch. And I sat down and learned a software called KiCad. I learned Adobe Illustrator and a few others as well to make it all come together. And so to do what we wanted to do, which was looking at building like circuit boards that have a unique aesthetic to them, that have a bit of artistry and style, and really get creative with the fabrication process. We had to use like a lot of different techniques that weren't quite as standard in the circuit board industry. A lot of the times we'd approach a factory and we'd say, hey, can you make this with a few different colors? Can you do a few different things? They'd often sort of come back and say, this is a bit weird. Like, circuit boards aren't made to be on display. They're made to be tucked away in a box that is the display item, rather than actually getting it and looking at the circuit board and admiring like the beautiful traces that might be on it, the way that it's come together. All of those things are generally hidden. And so we're trying to flip that concept on its head and introduce beautiful artworks on the circuit boards and make it a bit more exciting and fun to learn electronics. And so one of the things that I learned from that process was that if you set your mind to it and you have a project in mind, you can sit down and learn any software you like, which was super exciting for me. I always sort of had a vague desire to learn circuit board stuff, but I I always sort of thought that I wasn't going to be clever enough, you know. You sit back and you think, well, I haven't done an electronics engineering degree, you know, what business have I got designing circuit boards, doing these things, having a go? But when you actually sit down and you do the learning and you put the time in and you persevere, you can sit down and you can learn whatever you like. With the first prototype that I made in the software, I put it through, I sent it through to a circuit board design factory, and they obviously came back with, why did you do things this way? What did you do this way? And that was, you learn by doing, and you fix it up and you send it through. And we had our first circuit boards made, which was like a huge milestone for me. I was so excited. From there, we thought the best way to go about it was to have a go at making a traditional kit-style box that would be retail-ready, something that you'd see for sale, on the shelves of National Geographic or Kmart or something like that. That was, a very traditional, open up the box, do an activity type kit. That would be a great way to sort of, it would be the most effective way to get young girls excited with something that would be more of a long-form activity where they could really sink their teeth in and learn a lot of things. And so to do that, we decided to launch a Kickstarter campaign, which was another huge sort of milestone that I wanted to have a go at. And so what we ended up doing was traveling to Shenzhen in China, where we got to go and seek out factories. We ended up meeting the head of Kickstarter in Asia as well, which was a huge coincidence, but also so fantastic to sit down and get some real advice on how we might make something like this come together. And it was really valuable to go and meet with the factories and see how things are made firsthand, so you can sort of get your brain thinking about how you can be creative with the way that things are made. Anyway, we ended up launching the campaign, and unfortunately we weren't successful in our funding, and that's for a few reasons. So usually when you launch a Kickstarter campaign or any kind of crowdfunding campaign, you need to get it right within the first 24 hours of it going up. So if you don't have an already generated huge number of followers or people that are excited about your brand to jump on in that first 24-hour window, the algorithms tend to not pick you up and snowball you to the finish line afterwards. And so we ended up getting a third of our goal fulfilled, which was still pretty great, but it was sort of another pivot and another sort of failure that we didn't really expect to happen. And so from there, that's when we really started to go lean and go minimum viable product, which is what we should have done in the first place, where we ended up making the simplest type of kit that we could. We made a soldering kit. So it looks a bit like this one here, and I'm super proud of how this has come out. So this product has 2 different solder mask colors on there, which is non-traditional and very exciting for us to have achieved. And it's just got the basics on there. So it's a pin that you can attach to a bag or your clothing, and it lights up, and it cycles through all the different rainbow colors. And on there's a little girl blasting out into space. So this first product we were excited to have picked up by Little Bird Electronics, which is a local Australian supplier, and this has been a great start to hopefully a whole range of products that we'll have up on our website soon. I'm also really interested in how we teach and design wearable technology. I think that's a huge space that really, will have a lot of potential in the future. And so this one here is a wearable technology style board kit that I've designed, and it has a little button on the side there that you can press, has already a battery in the middle there, and you can press that and the lights turn on already. So the way that this one works is that you snap out the parts and you can use conductive thread to sew them into an outfit or a something to wear. And so having this particular design as a snap out one, where you can already test the circuit before actually putting it in, was a fantastic design hurdle for me to overcome. I'm also pretty excited about this circuit board business card as well that I ended up making. So this one here has both myself and Andrea on it, and it's a great way to show street cred anyway when you're out in the field and you're meeting people and you're explaining what you do, and you say, hey, take one of these with you. It's got us on there, and it's a circuit board. It doesn't do anything, but it is some pretty cool art. Anyway, we've got lots of great things coming up that I've been working hard on designing, including three-dimensional style soldering kits, new unseen ways of doing wearable technology using flex circuit boards, all kinds of exciting stuff that I am so keen to get up on the website for you guys to see and to check out. I really think that teaching electronics to girls and getting them excited about it is something super important. We think about how central good working technology and hardware and phones and computers are to our way of living now. If we want more girls in this space and more ladies in tech, we need to set them up for success. We need to make sure that they have the tools to get excited and learn about it as they're growing up. And it's something that I've always wanted to see, and never really thought that I would have the ability to step up and actually do it and hopefully provide that opportunity for those girls. So yeah, I'm super excited about this company and this brand, and I'm really keen to challenge myself to see how far we can go and how far we can take this idea. Lots of great things coming soon. Anyway, thanks so much for listening to this video. There's more coming up, so you can listen to the previous video about the Australian entrepreneurship ecosystem. And the next videos coming up, we'll be talking about how you can validate your idea through the lean startup methodologies. Obviously, that long story can sort of tell you why that's so important to get it right the first time. And also how to build a website and a bit of a look into hardware type companies and what kind of support's out there for those. Thanks for watching. I'm Steph. See you next time.